Ben Carson is a doctor, damn it, not a politician. Bones should have been his communication spokesperson. So when they ask him a question about who can run for president, he's going to have something really interesting to say. Let's watch.
Should a president's faith matter? Should your faith matter to voters?
Oh, well, I guess it depends on what that faith is. If it's inconsistent with the values and principles of America, then of course it should matter. But if it fits within the realm of America and consistent with the Constitution, no problem.
So do you believe that Islam is consistent with the Constitution?
No, I don't. I do not. I would not advocate that we put a Muslim in charge of this nation. I absolutely would not agree with that.
And I take it you believe the president was born in the United States and is a Christian?
I believe that he is. I have no reason to doubt what he says.
Okay, a little merciful at the end there, but of course always with the caveat like, if he says so, right? But of course the big news coming out of there is, no, Muslims should not be allowed to run for office. He says that he's in favor of the United States Constitution. Okay, well, let's read the Constitution, find out if that's true. First Amendment, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. And we can go on with the First Amendment. Okay, so let's skip to graphic 11A here. How about the no religious test clause of the United States Constitution? The senators and representatives before mentioned and the members of the several state legislatures and all executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and of the several states, shall be bound by an oath or affirmation to support this Constitution, but no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. He loves that Constitution except for the fact that he apparently never read it. Now, you think he's going to back down from these comments? No. He thinks it's playing well to the Republican base. He speaks softly, but he carries a bigoted stick, and the Republicans love it. They love it. So he doubles down. When asked about it, he said, I do not believe Sharia is consistent with the Constitution of this country. You're not consistent with the Constitution. Anyway, Muslims feel that their religion is very much a part of your public life and what you do as a public official, and that's inconsistent with our principles and our Constitution. Well, that's hilarious. These are the same guys defending Kim Davis, who says, as a good Christian, it's a part of my life, and I have to exercise my government duties with that in mind, and that is God's law. It is above your law. And they applaud wildly. Yes, of course, our religion is above the Constitution and above your laws. Oh, their religion? Oh, no, can't have it. Can't have it. That would be unconstitutional. See, the reason they fear the Muslims and Sharia law is because they actually love Sharia law as long as it's Christian Sharia law. They want to impose that on us, so they view Muslim Sharia law as just a competitor to them, okay? So forgetting the whole idea of what the United States was based on, which is that we do not have religious tests, okay? That you have the freedom of religion, but you do not impose your religion on anyone. But they don't believe that. They don't understand that. And in that sense, they are just like the fundamentalist Muslims that they think that they are against. Now, he explains, now, look, if a Muslim can, swear up and down that they're not actually Muslim, maybe I'd let him run. But, wait, no. He says, Taqiyya it's a different word here, a different principle of Islam for just a Shia. He says, Taqiyya is a component of Shia that allows and even encourages you to lie to achieve your goals. So, in other words, even if they said they weren't going to follow Sharia law, and they promised that even though they're Muslim, they won't do anything Muslim, I still wouldn't believe it because they're goddamn liars. Okay, great. How open-minded of you, Dr. Ben Carson. He continues, oh, it's okay if a Muslim ran, it'd be useful anyway, really. He says, this conversation served a useful purpose by providing the opportunity to talk about what Sharia is and what their goals are. Goals are to take over the country and impose their religion. Oh, no, right, that's my goals. Dr. Ben Carson is evangelical Christian, by the way, and believes that we are a Christian nation. Please, just for God's sake, if you believe in God, read the Constitution and then go run for Pope. Okay, he's a Seventh-day Adventist, by the way. And Dr. Carson, remind me, which Christian sect should rule us all? Lutherans, Methodists, Seventh-day Adventists? You sure that the rest of the Christians will agree that the Seventh-day Adventists should be in charge and their particular interpretation should be in charge? I'd check into that if I were you. Okay, now this is so extreme even Ted Cruz was against it. Ted Cruz says the Constitution specifies that there shall be no religious test for public office, and I'm a constitutionalist. Wow! If you've gone to the right of Ted Cruz, you're in a scary, scary place. Now, I think Ezra Klein and Max Fisher did a brilliant job at Vox of getting into this issue, and they explained. Now, if you like Donald Trump's fearlessness but dislike the fact that he's kind of a jerk, Carson is the perfect candidate. See, I think that's exactly right, and that's what we talked about after the second Republican debate, and that's why I thought Ben Carson did well in the debate. It seemed like he didn't know what he was talking about, and he was so soft-spoken, and there's Trump with his bluster and so-called strength, etc. But no, what Ben Carson is the quote-unquote nice version of Donald Trump. Now, is what he says nice? No, not at all. He says horrible, horrible things. In this case, he's going over the top of Trump. But he says it in a soft tone. And he's a doctor, so it's okay. It's okay to hate the Muslims and make sure they don't have the same rights as us. It's okay, because I spoke really softly. Okay, and Ezra and Max continue. They say, CNN, for example, has run a series of segments asking if Islam promotes violence, which is sort of like asking if Judaism promotes greed. Oh, perfect analogy. Nicely done, guys. So they're saying, look, this is spreading, man. This kind of anti-Muslim fervor, it's going to all the different elements. It started with just the crazy right-wingers and their blogs. Then it spread to right-wing media. Now leading Republican candidates are doing it. And then the media goes along not even recognizing it. Yeah, it's okay to ask grossly stereotypical discriminatory questions about Muslims. They're just Muslims, right? Now, speaking of the media, of course, then you have Fox News. I mean, there's a dozen examples, and they gave a whole bunch in that Vox piece you should read. We'll have a link for it down below for you guys. But Andrea Tantaros had, of course, one of the better ones. She said, you can't solve it with a dialogue, referring to Muslims. You can't solve it with a summit. You solve it with a bullet to the head. It's the only thing these people understand. Okay. And they're not alone. Even before all this new round of anti-Muslim hysteria, there was a poll out from Gallup that said 38% of Americans would never vote for a Muslim president. By the way, the only group that fared worse, atheists, at 40%. God help us. It doesn't exist, so it's not relevant, but okay, anyway. Finally, Dr. Ben Carson, is there any circumstance under which you would allow a Muslim to become president? He said, if he is, quote, sworn in on a stack of Bibles and not a Quran. And he added that he needs to believe in the Judeo-Christian heritage. By the way, Muslims do believe in Judeo-Christian heritage. They believe the Old Testament is the first book, the New Testament is the second book, and the Quran is the third book. That is their belief, right? So they don't have anything against the Bible. They just think the Quran is the latest edition of those three books. But Dr. Ben Carson's idea of not discriminating is saying, I mean, as long as you're on my team, okay? Quran, no way. Not just one, but stack of Bibles. Is he not merciful? The guy doesn't get the whole point of the country. Okay, finally, and it's not like the group he's in would have ever been discriminated against, whether it's Seventh-day Adventists or African Americans. So the whole idea is foreign to him. Never heard of it before. Okay, finally, Bobby Jindal. He's got to weigh in. This guy kills me, man. I think he's the funniest guy in the race. He writes in, this is a dumb game that the press is playing. It's an absurd hypothetical question, but let's indulge the media for a moment and play their gotcha game. If you can find me a Muslim candidate who is a Republican who will fight hard to protect religious liberty, who will respect the Judeo-Christian heritage of America, who will be committed to destroying ISIS and radical Islam, who will condemn cultures that treat women as second-class citizens, and who will place their hand on the Bible and swear to uphold the Constitution, and then, yes, I'll be happy to consider voting for him or her. If you can't, I'll settle for voting for a Christian governor from Louisiana. You're so sad. You're the saddest person on earth. You know what he did there in the last sentence? A Christian, not a president. Wait, we're talking about president. Christian governor of Louisiana. Who's that? Me. Even though I'm brown-skinned, I'm Christian. Even though some people think I look Muslim. No. I fucking hate the Muslims. I'm Christian. Christian governor of Louisiana. You pathetic little bitch. Okay. And then everything. Oh, yeah, if the Muslims denounced ISIS and fought radical Islam. Yeah, of course the Muslims do that. Of course the overwhelming majority of Muslim Americans believe that. Can you find a few crackpots anywhere? Of course, look at the white community, the black community, the Asian community, Muslim community. Of course, everybody's got crackpots, right? But of course, and if he's running for president, he's going to fight for us and against ISIS and radical Islam. That's deeply insulting to even mention that. And then, but the rest of it is, as long as he's a good Christian, then I'll let him run as a Muslim.